Hi, this is Vicki from Learning Home Volunteers, and welcome back to our fairy tale learning session. This week we are reading The Elves and the Shoemaker. Elves are tiny little creatures that are quick and secretive. They find ways to help in the world. And in this story, they're helping a shoemaker who makes shoes by helping him sew those shoes. Speaking of sewing, this is activity number 4, and we're going to sew like an elf. And in your box, you'll find a piece of burlap, a needle, some yarn, buttons, straws, and paper cleaners. I'm sure you will think that we must be nuts sending home a sewing project for a 2 to 5-year-old, but it's going to be super fun. And they'll create something very neat. You can start actually with the pipe cleaner. It's rigid, and just have them weave the pipe cleaner in and out of the burlap, up and down from either side. The pipe cleaner neatly fills through the holes of both the straws and the buttons, and they can use it to attach it to the burlap. But most of the work that we're going to do is actually with the needle and thread, and we'll be making lines in the yarn. You can see on these pictures those children actually do that often the yarn gets tangled and it seems to be randomly placed as the child gets their bearing with the activity. I mean, it's pretty magical from a child's perspective to see as they push the needle up and then down, it makes a line, and then from the other side, you have this hole from where that happened, but there's another line as it goes back up. Um, it's amazing, really very cool. If you find that your child becomes more purposeful with what they're trying to do with the yarn, you can use a highlighter to draw on the burlap for them to actually follow. You can even try sewing letters or shapes. We can't wait to see what your child will do. I thought a video of the actually sewing in the burlap. So this woman here is actually going to be sewing in the burlap. You know, the point of the sewing, the top of the needle is going to go in the direction where you want the string to go. So if we're bringing it up from behind, it'll go up, and if we're taking the string to the back, it'll go down. Well, let's watch this lady for a little bit while she sews a pattern on the burlap, and we'll get to see and watch the needle. I'm going to make it go in full screen so you can see it really well of her actually and the needle it's doing work with. So you can see here she actually pulled the needle from the top to the bottom, and now she's coming up from the bottom, there you go, and down to the back. Isn't that neat? Made a big line, and then up from the back and down again to the back, making another line. They call this a running stitch. Kind of looks like running, but I think it's really neat as you can see the needle going back and forth. Well, I know you guys are going to have a great time with this. Let me stop her here and we'll switch back to our next activity. So this is activity number 5, design a shoe. And in your box, you're going to find 2 different shoes on pieces of paper. You can customize them to your style. We have provided little pieces of cloth to decorate the shoe, or you can use crayons or markers, whatever you would like to use to make it to your liking. So I did a little one on my own, and I thought I'd do shapes because it was just shapes. So I used stars, and then a lightning bolt, and then a moon, which I thought was really lovely, in different colors. But you guys could do whatever you like yours to look like. Well, this is activity number 6. What shoes do you have in your house? In your box, you're going to find a piece of paper looking somewhat like this. It's a great way to introduce some specialty words around shoes. You know, I was thinking about it as what kinds of words I could remember, and about shoes, we have slippers and sandals and boots and heels and loafers and slip-on, and then cleats like they're going to be using in the football game, and Crocs and flats and wedges. Oh, boy, the list could go on for some time. Being able to count and classify are really big, important mathematical skills. You can group them by a number of different ways, or by the type of shoe. Are they boots or not boots? Or you could do it with whether they have laces or don't have laces. Or you could, do it by color, or by the owner of the shoe. Once you've grouped them in these different kinds of groupings, you can count them and then record it. And this sheet is really just the start to that kind of work that you can do in your own home. So tell us, how many different types of shoes are there in your house? Well, that's all I have for this week. Next week, we're going to be reading Jack and the Beanstalk.